Origin Unexplained.
This is Origin Unexplained, and tonight we're not heading into the jungle or outer space. We're going south, far south, to a place sealed in ice. Yeah, and silent. A place where pyramids have been spotted by satellite, where magnetic readings twist and vanish, where world leaders show up quietly without explanation and leave just as fast. What's under the ice? What's pulling them there? Let's find out. Antarctica. Yeah, supposedly empty. Supposedly nothing to see. So why did John Kerry, the U.S. Secretary of State, suddenly fly there on Election Day, no less? Why did Russian Orthodox Patriarch Kirill show up shortly after just to bless the penguins? That's what they said. Why did Buzz Aldrin, a man who walked on the moon, rush to Antarctica in 2016, only to leave on emergency medical evacuation after tweeting, "We are all in danger. It is evil"? That tweet vanished, just like the reasons for their visits. These weren't science tours, guys. They weren't photo ops. They were silent arrivals to places no one talks about. What was so urgent? What did they see, and why does no one explain why they went? Something is definitely there, and it's not for the rest of us. So for decades, satellite images actually have shown what looks like pyramids breaking through the snow. Okay, it's massive, symmetrical peaks that don't match the surrounding terrain. Some say they're natural nunatucks, mountain tips poking through the ice. Others aren't so sure. Their angles are too sharp. Their shadows fall too perfectly. One particular near the Ellsworth Mountains forms a near-perfect triangle visible even from orbit. Scientists give, real quiet explanations, but the pictures keep resurfacing, and each time they look less like nature and more like design. Then there are heat signatures, thermal anomalies deep below the surface detected where there should only be frozen stone. Something's warm under there, something big. The readings line up near supposed cave systems, ones that vanish from later maps. But then again, guys, there were things past where things can be done like that, especially at the poles. Magnetic instruments glitch in the same regions, compasses spin, GPS data fails, and entire expeditions go silent. Some call it an ancient city. Some call it the remains of another civilization, buried, sealed, and frozen in time. Whatever it is, it's enough to keep the world's attention locked on a place no one's supposed to visit. The idea of a hidden civilization in Antarctica isn't new. In 1946, Admiral Richard Byrd led Operation High Jump, an American military expedition with planes, ships, and over 4,000 men. Officially, they went to test cold weather equipment. Well, unofficially, Byrd came back talking about objects that could fly from pole to pole at incredible speeds. Sounds like UFOs, huh? His later writings, including what's claimed to be his personal diary, tell an even stranger story. During a flight over the South Pole, his instruments reportedly began to fail. Compasses spun wildly. The aircraft felt as if it were like being pulled, not by the wind, but by something magnetic. Then the light changed. Suddenly warm and golden, and beneath him he saw valleys of green, rivers flowing through ice, and massive animals resembling ancient mammoths moving below. According to the disputed log, his radio crackled with a voice instructing him to land. Right there. There he wrote of meeting beings of extraordinary intelligence who warned humanity about its growing aggression and nuclear testing. Byrd claimed they told him he had entered the inner realm of the earth, a world beneath our own, and that he was to deliver their message to the surface. When Byrd returned, he was debriefed by military intelligence and reportedly sworn to secrecy. His mission was abruptly cut short, and from the moment on, Antarctica became one of the most heavily restricted regions on the planet. Then came the Piri Reis map of 1513. Let's face it, that was drawn long before Antarctica's official discovery. The map shows the continent's coastline in stunning detail, completely free of ice. Geologists later confirmed that the shape matches the actual landmass beneath the frozen sheet, suggesting whoever made that map had access to information from a time when the continent wasn't covered in ice, tens of thousands of years ago. Some historians dismiss it as coincidence. Others call it evidence that an ancient civilization once mapped the world from a vantage point of advanced knowledge. And that would absolutely have to be the case because, let's face it, we supposedly had no planes and anything back then, right? No rockets, nothing. In recent years, NASA's Operation Icebridge revealed strange geometric patterns buried deep beneath the surface, lines that run too straight, angles too precise to be random. Seismic sensors picked up low-frequency vibrations near Lake Vostok, one of the largest subglacial lakes ever discovered, where the water never freezes and the environment remains sealed from the surface world. There are heat signatures under the ice as well, like massive, consistent, and unexplained. The official answer calls it volcanic activity. Okay, maybe. That's possible, right? The unofficial one suggests energy, artificial, structured, controlled. Each discovery brings the same reaction: silence, redaction, and sudden disinterest. Yet the theories keep resurfacing. Some believe Antarctica hides the ruins of Atlantis. Okay. Others claim it's the remains of a civilization older than humanity, sealed away after a cataclysmic shift of the poles. And there are those who insist it's still alive, operating beneath the ice, hidden from the surface world, using electromagnetic fields to cloak its presence. Whatever the truth is, the ice seems less like nature's barrier and more like a deliberate wall, built to keep the world above from what lies below. So, for a place that's supposed to be frozen and lifeless, Antarctica has an unusual number of locked doors. Since the Antarctic Treaty was signed in 1959, the entire continent has been guarded under the promise of peaceful scientific research. You get something there? Peaceful scientific research. Peaceful. Who are we being at peace with? No military activity, no private claims, no unauthorized expeditions. It sounds protective, even noble, but the truth is, no other place on Earth is so tightly sealed. Not even the Vatican. You can't just book a flight and explore. You can't climb over a ridge and see what's beyond it. You go where you're told and nowhere else. People who've worked there talk about it quietly, like they're remembering a dream they're not supposed to even mention. Nope. A technician once told a friend that certain coordinates near the South Pole are simply off limits, no matter your clearance. He described being rerouted mid-flight with instruments suddenly failing as if the plane were flying through interference. It's like the air itself didn't want us there, he said. Another man, a contractor, claimed he saw what looked like an entrance carved into the side of a glacier while setting up weather equipment. He went to report it, but his supervisor stopped him before he could finish. 2 days later, he was flown out for medical reasons. He never returned. Even scientists, the ones there for legitimate research, have strange stories. In 2011, a small team studying microbial life under the ice near Lake Vostok reported picking up rhythmic signals, steady pulses like sonar from deep below. The data was sent back to their headquarters. The next day, the equipment was confiscated, of course, and their project was quietly shut down. So when reporters asked about it, the official statement was that their findings were inconclusive and the project had been terminated due to environmental concerns. But people who were on that expedition still talk about it. They say those weren't random noises. They were structured, intelligent, and deep. Well, then, there are the disappearances. So in 2002, a group of Chilean scientists reportedly vanished after venturing beyond their permitted research zone. The story barely made the news. A brief notice said they had succumbed to a storm. Others, well, they claim they were trying to reach a restricted sector rumored to hold a massive dome protruding through the ice. Kind of sounds like a UFO. Maybe a building, who knows? Their GPS trackers, according to insiders, stopped transmitting the moment they crossed a certain longitude. No remains, no wreckage, just gone. And then there's the constant hum. Well, can't forget that. People who have lived there for months at a time describe hearing a low vibration at night, something that can't be traced to generators or wind. It's more like a tone, deep and constant, that seems to come from below. The same frequency has been picked up by seismic monitors and recorded by amateur radio operators thousands of miles away. So officially, it's ice movement. Unofficially, well, it sounds mechanical. When you put it all together, well, the secrecy, the redirected flights, the confiscated data, the missing expeditions, starts to feel less like protection and more like containment. Something's down there. And the silence isn't just policy, it's preservation. So, if Antarctica is a vault, then what's locked inside it? Over the years, 4 major explanations have surfaced. Each one stranger, each one carrying its own following, and maybe in a way, they're all pieces of the same puzzle. The lost technology, right? Some researchers believe that beneath the ice lies an older city, older than any civilization known to man. They say it was once the heart of an ancient culture that mastered energy in ways we can barely even imagine. According to this story, the last survivors of a cataclysm sealed their technology beneath the polar ice, preserving what they could before the world shifted. The rumor goes that in the late 1990s, satellite scans picked up an enormous hexagonal structure near the Transantarctic Mountains, metallic, geometric, and buried under 2 miles of ice. A joint team from several nations was allegedly sent to investigate. When they returned, they weren't the same. They didn't speak to the press. A few left their posts entirely, and insiders whisper that what they found wasn't ruins, but machinery, massive turbines or generators still giving off power like something waiting to be restarted. Some believe that's why the elite suddenly took interest. They weren't sightseeking. They were checking on a discovery that could rewrite human history or end it. And if people think that the elite don't run this world, well, then you better think again. Because with something like that, and they go there, think about it. Come on. The alien presence. Another camp insists the technology isn't human at all. They point to a long history of UFO sightings over the southern pole, the crashed anomalous object reported by Russian scientists in 2003, and the whispers of unmarked military flights transporting sealed cargo from the ice to secret hangars in New Zealand. One pilot described bright lights pulsing beneath a storm front that never moved, like a beacon buried under the ice. Stories from insiders mention tunnels of glass-smooth ice leading to a vast cavern illuminated by its own light source. Those who have claimed to have been there say the air felt alive, thick with static, and the walls seemed to hum with a pulse that matched their own heartbeat. Few of the world's most powerful figures reportedly traveled there under humanitarian or environmental pretenses, but stayed for only hours, escorted by armed personnel. If the accounts are true, they weren't visiting a research base. They were meeting with something that's been here far longer than we have. The portal theory, well, others believe Antarctica hides a doorway, not a discovery. They connect the magnetic anomalies, the vanishing GPS signals, and the erratic atmosphere readings into one conclusion: a portal, a rift between dimensions, or even worlds. Supporters of this theory reference Bird's alleged encounter and claim the same phenomena that pulled his plane inward still opens periodically beneath the South Pole. Some think the elite visits coincide with these cycles scheduled around the brief windows when the veils are thin. Oh, jeez. There we go. They may talk about brief windows when the veil's thin. Come on. If anybody knows me, especially when I'm live on TikTok or something like that, veil's thinning. People talk about it all the time, but do you have any proof? Why don't you show us a veil thinning before you run your mouths, right? There's an old military report buried under layers of classification that supposedly describes an experiment using high-frequency radio waves near the pole. The transmission bounced back 3 minutes before it was sent. Time itself, they said, well, it folded. Scientists who worked on that project vanished into reassignment lists that led nowhere. The portal theory suggests that Antarctica isn't hiding something underground. It's hiding a door that leads through it. The living consciousness. And then there's the strangest idea of all, that Antarctica itself is alive. Yes. Not alive in the sense of a creature, but as a planetary mind, a sentiment field that communicates through magnetism, vibration, and dream. So that sounds like Mother Earth that people talk about, right? People who've spent long seasons there tell of lucid dreams, hearing voices under the wind, and feeling watched when no one's around. Ancient cultures spoke of the sleeping god beneath the white world, a presence that breathes once every great age. Some scientists even admit that the continent radiates heat in irregular patterns as if it exhales. Few mystics claim the elite aren't guarding a secret. They're tending to it. That deep below, something vast is awakening, something that can influence human thought. It's said that the low hum recorded under the ice isn't machinery at all. It's a heartbeat. Kind of reminds you of Land of the Lost, the episode when they fell in the hole and there was that thump, 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 thump. And that big red thing was in the middle of the Land of the Lost and they fell in. So, whether it's a machine, an intelligence, or a doorway, the stories all circle the same truth. Antarctica is not just frozen land, it's an intersection. A junction point between worlds, histories, and realities we aren't ready to face. Every visitor who's gone there, every sudden political trip, every silenced expedition seems to touch the same nerve, as if they all looked at the same impossible thing and returned carrying its echo. And so, the silence continues. The treaties stay signed, the flights stay limited, the secrets stay buried under miles of ice, but the hum, well, it goes on steady, patient, and waiting. For a continent with no citizens, no borders, and no official ruler, Antarctica somehow belongs to almost everyone. And I mean everyone. And yet, to no one at all. The Antarctic Treaty, signed in 1959, joined together dozens of countries, some who were allies, others who were bitter rivals, and locked them into a single agreement. It declared the continent neutral territory, reserved for science and peace. No weapons, no war, no ownership. That's what the paperwork says. But think about it. When in history have all major powers suddenly agreed on anything ever? Especially something as massive and resource rich as an entire continent. Yeah. There are now over 50 nations bound by that treaty, each maintaining research stations scattered across the ice. The United States, Russia, China, and the United Kingdom, Australia, Norway, Argentina, everyone's there. Different flags, different languages, but all operating under the same rules of silence. They work beside one another, but no one truly knows what the others are doing. Some believe this global cooperation isn't about protecting science at all. It's about protecting a shared secret, a secret so large that for once, the entire world agreed to keep it quiet. If there is supposed to be a peace agreement, there must be something alive down there. For decades, Antarctica's been called the last untouched frontier, right? Place where the cold has preserved everything but the truth. Maybe that's why it draws the attention it does. There are stories, of course, rumors that certain world figures, the so-called elite, have been down there. But without proof, their names can't be confirmed, and maybe that's the point. Some of the names we can confirm, but we're not going to go there. The line between truth and rumor in Antarctica is as blurred as the horizon itself. Every photograph, every satellite scan, every whisper from all that ice, well, is it a remnant of our past? A sign of something not from this world? Or the heartbeat of the planet itself? The hum goes on steady and patient, as if it's waiting for, the world to finally listen. The answers are buried deep, but there's always that but. Secrets that big don't stay buried forever. The ice shifts, the earth warms, and sooner or later, what sleeps beneath will be seen. Until then, all we can do is wonder and keep listening. This is Origin Unexplained, and I am Sue. If you have a story you would like told or you'd like to be in a podcast, email us at originunexplained@gmail.com.
Origin Unexplained.